Devils, welcome, welcome. This is the Duke post-game report. It's our take on a talking head sports show where we talk all things Duke basketball and we're unapologetically biased towards the Blue Devils. Um, I'm Thing One, Eric Russman, and I'm here with my co-pilot Maurizio Martinovich, aka Ritz. Today we're going to be going over some highlights of the UNC game, sad loss. We're going to recap, talk a little bit about it. We're going to go into some analysis on a couple of plays, do a little deep dive. We have a guest speaker in again. We're going to get some injury insights, and then we're going to preview the ACC tourney. It's the big important thing coming up, the next steps, 0-0 records here moving forward.
Indeed, Eric. Just give me a sec. Hold on. I'm not finished with these envelopes. Not finished with these envelopes here. I got to address these. This one is to. Hold on. Teddy Valentine needs his money too. Give me 1 second here. Okay, this one is for. Yep. All right. I got this one too. So this one is for Roger Ayers. Roger. Thank you so much for officiating the game on Saturday. Well played. Yours truly, Roy and Kenny Williams. P.S. Are we still on for tea time at the Waduke this Wednesday? That one's going to Roger. That one's going to Teddy. And this one's going to Bill. Okay? Unbelievable. Just like one. I can't even. You know what? I'm just beside myself at this point. But we're going to get there. Because that's not
Yeah.
the first segment. There is a segment where we will have later in the show called Charged Up. We're going to talk about those plays and why basically it looks like Roy just cashed in a little bit with the refs, maybe. But in any case, we do have some highlights because our boys played one hell of a game on Saturday afternoon. So without further ado, here we go. It's going to be Duke. It's going to be North versus UNC, and it's going to be everything that we wanted and more, except for the outcome, however. But Duke UNC in Chapel Hill, the second part of this best rivalry in sports. Duke trying to play spoiler on senior night, of course. And to get us going here, we're going to have Alex O'Connell with a nice pass to Trey Jones. And Trey's just going to shave off a little bit of Kobe White's afro here and get to the hole. Very nicely done. 6-8 Duke in the early going. And then this is not a Cameron Johnson three-pointer. This is about the effort. This is about Duke, UNC. Look at this. Bodies on the floor. Javin on the floor. The effort, the sacrifice is going up to RJ. And this is going to turn out nicely for the Blue Devils as RJ is going to take this coast to coast and he's going to go off the glass with the left hand. But the extended play. This is about the extended play. Look at the effort. Here, UNC thinks it has a run up, but no, it's a bird. It's a play. It's Super Javin. Whoa, with the block. Nicely done. And then on the very next possession, Luke May thinks he has a clean lane to the basket, but no, Cam and Reddish getting into the block party on Franklin Street. Nicely done. And Cam here doing it on the defensive end and the offensive end. He's going to go boom. It just drops. Doesn't even hit the net. Bang. And then here we go. Trey Jones with this one. Nice little bounce pass to RJ. Again, it's like deja vu from before. Duke is going to maintain a nice, comfortable lead here. Not really comfortable, but a nice lead. And then Luke May with the turnover. Trey Jones knows exactly what to do with this one. Duke keeping the lead in the first half. They're playing lights out, and this thing is a track meet. And then you cannot leave this Reddish in the corner. What are they? We love it. Red hot Reddish from the three-point line. Very nice. And then the sick spin move. Again, we have like one of these a game from Cam. He just has been playing so much more aggressively. Look at this. Jack White gets fouled on that one, but we'll talk about the refs in a second. Cam knows exactly what to do with this one. Trey, woo, she can't get it, but Javin is going to put the Blue Devils up 40-36. Duke is going to take a 2-point lead into the locker room. Now Duke in the second half down and coming back. Almost disaster here. Gets it back to Trey, to RJ, and RJ is going to put this one in. Duke only down by 3. And here we go. No, Cam says no. He's doing blocks. He's doing everything. Cam now just gentle stroll down Franklin Street. Says, oh, I'm going to play in the NBA here. Whoop! Euro step in between the UNC defenders and finishes at the rack. Duke ties it up. Very nicely done. And then RJ's playing point guard. Trey's playing shooter. Trey's going to get the 3. Nicely done. RJ says thanks for the assist. Trey says thanks for the points. It's a lovely for everyone. And now RJ is trying to keep us in it and single-handedly win this thing. Don't stop believing, Blue Devils. Here's the 3-pointer to put Duke only down 5. We're in it with 2 minutes to go and still the same score with 1 minute. Trying to put us in the coffin, but no! Javin is going to keep us in it, but unfortunately that ladies and gentlemen, is where the highlights are going to end because Carolina is going to go and hit the freebies late and break our hearts again for the second time this season. And before we get too far, we are looking forward to Friday night's potential rematch here with UNC. So the poll is active in the stream. Simple question. When we play them on Friday night, the margin of victory for Duke is going to be how much. You take your pick. We'll see the results at the end of the show. I know where mine's going to go. You guys can go ahead and vote in chat, and I'm going to vote for it too. All right. Eric, the boys played hard. It was Duke UNC, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, the injury early to Bolden. We'll talk about him a little bit in the show as well. But it was a hard fought match.
Yeah, I mean it definitely was. The game started off great. Bolden going down was, that was another kind of bummer. I was watching the game and dropped to my knees and just screamed out, "No!" It's almost improbable that we would have a guy go down early in a game against the same opponent like that. Just not the same, obviously the same impact that Zion had, but it definitely ended up showing in little ways throughout the game. Just down another body. Our guys kind of got wore out, kind of with like 7 to 8 minutes left in the game, and then happened to time up with when
Yep.
Kobe White of UNC just went on like a shooting rampage to get their final push, and then but we were tough, and we kept fighting and we stuck around and actually held them scoreless for like 6 minutes after that. Put ourselves in position for have a chance to win it if a bucket falls one way or the other.
Yep.
In the last 3 or 4 minutes, we're right in it, and then the last minute of the game where they're getting just the free throws to bring it from a 5 point lead to a 9 point lead. That's a little bit different end of the game, where we can actually play our straight up defense instead of having to foul them. So. I mean, there was just little things all over the game. I thought we played pretty well. There's just some stuff can't account for. You can't account for Kobe White going off. He wasn't able to do that the first time we played him. He only had 9 points.
Yep.
This game we actually defended Luke May extremely well.
That was your
He
key to the game from the other day, is to keep Luke
Yeah,
May under
and
12. He had 7.
yeah, I mean he did not have double digits, and that's you can look back in most games that happens. UNC loses. Just I think like the little spark of an X factor was Kenny Williams here, who had
Oh my.
season high in scoring. Made more 3 pointers in a game than he has all season, and maybe I think potentially in his like entire career at UNC. And then just his defensive effort kind of showed, some of it which is debatable, which we'll get to, but I mean, yeah, anytime we kind of lose, there's always one player on the other team who steps up in a big way, kind of abnormally from what they've been doing, and that definitely happened. But I mean, I was impressed with the way we handled it, the way that with Bolden going down, how other guys picked up those minutes. Yeah, I mean, it was just a classic Duke UNC rivalry game, and while the outcome was disappointing, I don't know. It didn't feel as much of a loss as kind of the first time around.
No, it definitely didn't. I'm very sanguine about the whole thing at this point. I mean,
Yeah,
like we didn't have Zion, as today named the ACC Player of the Year. We did not have Marquise, who would have cleaned up rebounds down low for us, gotten a few points, and really at the end of the day, it's just a few plays here and there. You brought
yeah,
up about guys picking up the minutes. I thought this was staggering. If you look at how many minutes these guys played, if you were watching this game, you basically saw the same lineup the entire second half. How many minutes these guys played in relation to their average?
yeah,
Cam Reddish, 39 minutes, averages 37. Not too bad there. RJ Barrett, this is averages in conference play. Averages
yeah,
33 minutes. He went for 38. So about 10 15% there. Trey Jones played all 40. Did not come out of this game. We expect that. But anyway, that's a lot.
yeah,
Javin Deloria, here we go. Played 28 minutes, averages 22. That's 30% more than he usually plays. And here's the kicker. Jack White played 30. He played 29 minutes, and he averages 15 minutes in conference play. He played double because we
yep,
just didn't have the bodies. So, I mean, just all around shout out to our guys because they played one hell of a game. You saw the bodies were flying, the effort was there. This thing was a track meet in the first half. Unfortunately, a couple of the shots didn't go, but it is what it is. We'll look for the rematch on Friday, assuming that both teams are able to move on in the tournament coming up. Now, we wanted to move on to actually shine the spotlight for this one on Cam because he played one hell of a game. Unfortunately, no ACC honors for him, but we're going to show our boy Cam some love here. So we got a little reel for Mr. Reddish, who was just all over the offensive defensive ends.
Yeah, Cam Reddish has definitely shown, a lot of growth and maturation over this season. He started off in one of his first games this year, shooting lights out, and then he kind of seemed to it almost seemed like a regression. And he kind of disappeared in some ways, and he had some issues with like turnovers. And he's cut down on a lot of that. He's gotten more active on rebounding, gotten more active on defense. His confidence in offense has come back. He was shooting, without question and without thinking tonight. Or the last game. But he's also just been more aggressive since Zion's out, been more aggressive, driving, attacking the rim. And that's what he's going to need to do. I mean, he needs to be a multifaceted player. But I think he's developed, a lot better, and he's definitely been getting more minutes over the last 6 games. Since Zion's been out, I mean, almost more than 35 minutes a game since then. Um, but I mean, he's adjusted well to the offense without Zion, and I think when Zion comes back, it'll be an even stronger because now he'll have those tools, and in addition to just being the guy that stepped out and open on the 3 point line when Zion gets the ball in the post or something like that. So I think it'll make complement and actually help out RJ and Zion even more because it's just going to spread the floor even more. And as long as he keeps it up, then we'll have 3 huge scorers,
Yep.
which is a lot better than typically the most games that we've had where we've only had like 2 scorers, around like 20 points, 15 to 20 points. So I think it could open wide open if he keeps it up. But
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, a lot of growth over the season.
he had, I mean, the great game against Kentucky. They all just came out of the gates, and he sort of like hit the freshman wall really early on,
Mm-hmm.
sort of disappeared there in the non-conference, came back, and in the conference, he had the shot against Florida State to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
At the end there, 23 points tonight, the majority of which actually were in the first half, but just really the dynamic scorer for us, and especially in Zion's absence. There was one play that we wanted to break down for you all on after this game, and it deals with a theme that actually kept Duke in this game much more so than in the first game. And in the first game, it was a lot about Duke's inability to get into the paint. But in
Mm-hmm.
this game, having adjusted and practiced without Zion and understanding how these guys can play with one another, we were able to have a lot of success in the paint and really find our way in there in between the Carolina defense. So, Eric, break down this play for us here. It's at baseline out of bounds and coming out starting in our
Yeah.
normal set.
Yeah. So this is definitely, a set run play. There's going to be a couple of cuts and kind of a first look, on this play, and then it just feeds into like the motion offense that we've been running lately. The motion offense that we've had time to practice without Zion because you miss some elements that he contributes to the motion offense. So this basically is just going to start out with Jav and Jack kind of just making cuts down the lane, and I think what it kind of focuses to serve here is it kind of creates like a little chaos. UNC has to react. I mean, Jav basically goes right to the goal. That's actually a quick look. If sometimes there could be a defense where they don't pay attention to that cut, and hey, you have a layup right there.
This one right here.
Yeah, Jack is just kind of following that wake that Jav creates. There's also could be a little dump right there, and he could be open. When it's not open for like the half a second that he cuts through, he just moves out to the corner. And then the third option is going to be RJ, who kind of comes down, and I think this role is he is supposed to read kind of the chaos created by those 2 cuts downs, which he curls and he cuts in front of
Yeah,
Kobe
so he
White
comes
here.
up here and then down.
Mm-hmm. And it's almost open. It's almost open, and you can see the lane's wide open. But I think the UNC defender on the ball kind of cut off the passing lane, and Luke May actually was kind of smart and dropped back. You can kind of see there's hard to get this pass in right there. So they kind of just use the safety valve to Cam Reddish, which there's always a guy popping out like that. But then it feeds right into the motion offense. Our guys are going to spread out, kind of occupy all like 4 parts of the court. And then we're going to get getting into the paint this game is we do a lot better at penetrating and kicking, like penetrating, driving in, which we were getting a lot of scores. But also when you penetrate, and you were doing that earlier in the game to actually drive and get the layups, now they have to defend that. They have to collapse on you when you drive. which means the kicks back out to the 3-point line are open. So that's what happened here. Arjun drives and kicks. Jack White also drives, and then it opens things up. He has 3 defenders that have to commit to guarding him.
Yeah, so
And then he
I
has
don't think
multiple
it's
people open.
possible to make this pass, but he might have
Well,
been
there, yeah,
open.
yeah. I mean, from anytime you're coming like from one direction, you generally don't want to like try to pass back to the direction you just came from. It kind of cuts off that flow that you in the motion after. So usually it's like penetrate and kick. But you're kicking in like the direction that you're generally running.
Yep.
So I mean, like he does have, like he could make a pass to Trey Jones if he wanted to, but I mean, just because the defender of UNC came up to kind of get in a charge position, I guess. I
Oh,
mean,
with this guy.
Jav just does a great job of seeing the hole and kind of move before UNC has time to realize that he's still there.
Right. That opens up right here, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Jack White makes a great read on this and a great pass.
A great pass. And Javin going underneath the bucket to make sure this thing doesn't get blocked.
Mm-hmm.
And then scores nicely there.
Yeah, I mean, Jav also had a great game. I mean, he was I think a block and a rebound each shy of his like personal record.
Yep.
And he also contributed 8 points. I think he was like 4 for 4 on layups. So he definitely fulfilled the role in the absence of Bolden.
Yeah, nice play, nicely executed here, down low in the paint, and all in all, it was a lot of that. I mean, we saw in the highlights that RJ, we had transition this game, we had the ability to get into the paint, so a lot of things working really well
Yeah.
with Duke. But,
Yeah, we were also way better at getting back on defense. I mean, you can see he just scored this layup, and I mean, this is one of the plays where UNC is actually lagging behind getting back down on offense. I mean, most of the time, by the time the ball was through the net, like they had half their team running down the floor again.
Yep.
And that just contributed to the pace of the game and kind of us getting tired out a little bit towards the end. But I mean, I was glad that we even made it as long as we did, and then we're able to even like tough it up and surmount a kind of a comeback.
Yep. And so something that got us in that position, though, that didn't quite go our way. So a lot of stuff was going our way. We had early in the first half. We were getting into the paint. Things not going our way, the officials. So we're going to bring in Justin here because he's going to do a segment with us later. But we're going to call this segment Charged Up because this was a little nuts. All right. So 1, 2, 3 charges on RJ. Nice. So our team, our coaches, and our players are not allowed to say things about the refs, but that doesn't apply to us. We can say whatever we want. So we're just going to lay into it. So for reference, though, let's see. From the rule book, from the NCAA rule book. All right. Players may move laterally or obliquely to maintain position, provided such a move is not toward the opponent when contact occurs. Also, keep this in mind. Offense-initiated contact, okay? Officials should not reward offensive players when they create contact with a defensive player who is legally moving to maintain a guarding position. Blah, blah, yeah. This action may take place anywhere on the court, blah, blah. Here's the important part. When it does, the action, officials should no call the play, okay, or even assess a player control foul if the contact warrants it. Okay, so we have all the charges that were called. The one against Cam Reddish, fair. Call it like it is. It happened. We get that. The ones against RJ. All right, here we go. We're going to play the game, and we're going to let you, Eric, and Justin, you guys are going to call it because here we go. So here's the first one. 5 minutes and left in the first half. RJ on the top. He's going to go in, and he's going to okay. So what do we
You want to go ahead, Justin?
Oh, I'm on the delay feed. Oh, that's not a charge. Not at all.
So, okay, see, that was my initial reaction. But then after I look at this one again, I can see how it's a charge. And I'll tell you what the referee was probably saying. As much as I also don't appreciate that this ref who's on the baseline takes at least like 6 galloping steps and winds up his arm before he makes his call.
It's TV Teddy, man. He's got a
TV Teddy.
No. That was what's his face? Dawkins. He as the game was going on, he goes, "All right, TV Teddy, we know that you're there. You don't need to do 5 windups
Yeah,
and sprint down the court to call a charge,
it's a
which he
little
does every
ridiculous. Like,
game.
I've seen it in baseball before when they call strikeouts and get emphatic, but at least they do it every time somebody gets K'd up. Like, anyway, the reason I could kind of see how this one was a charge, and unfortunately this is the one that like started the trend, which I think
Ugh.
they started looking out for stuff, is in this one Kenny Williams has his torso actually in a position where RJ's going, and he's actually essentially moving backwards. Like a defender is actually able to allowed to move backwards and actually have his feet moving as long as his like torso is kind of set and in a um, kind of in a stationary position. He's in his cylinder. And I think it just happens to look even worse that, he's shorter than RJ. And then RJ extends that arm a little bit, the shoulders down, and you see I mean, Kenny Williams actually, I mean, there's a little bit of a flop in here too. It's just the one, he's moving him back. He can feel like the bump where the shoulders come. And then, I mean, Kenny Williams pulls a pro move and he just like.
So the other piece of this is when a dribbler passes the opponent, Article 11, Section 10.
Yeah.
When a dribbler passes the opponent sufficiently to have his head and shoulders beyond the front of the opponent's torso, the greater responsibility for subsequent contact shall be that of the opponent, the defender, which would mean it's a block. So this is close, but also I don't appreciate the fact that Kenny Williams has both his hands on RJ at this point.
Yeah. I thought that was a little, because I mean, like that's the part where you get into the other rule of like he's impeding
the
motion,
like
RJ,
freedom of
RJ
movement.
cylinder. Yeah, freedom of movement, his right to a cylinder, and see that's why this one's confusing, because there's definitely like, they kind of like have like incidental contact like almost 3 times, and it's on like the fourth one that's the one where Kenny Williams like basically stops attempting to backpedal and then just takes the shoulder into the chest and like all of a sudden loses his footing, if you will.
Also, this ref over here cannot see. He's over here. He's the one that's going to make the call. He cannot see RJ. Like the fact that Kenny Williams has his hands on RJ.
So this first contact right here, that first little encounter right here, this first kind of getting him and bump, that's not a charge. That's why it comes to the third one, and it just happens to be like it's just, I mean, I don't know. It's Kenny Williams like maybe just flopped pretty hard. It's hard to tell, but I mean, if the thing was at that moment Kenny Williams, the step before he falls down is like a backwards motion. And his torso, like he's not moving left to right to get in the way of where RJ's going. Unfortunately, on that one, RJ was still moving in like a straight direction, into Williams's chest, and then he fell. He took he took contact and fell. So
Next
I think
one.
that this is the one that's excusable, but it definitely sucked.
3 minutes later, here we go. RJ, left side. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's not a charge.
What?
I mean,
what is this? This guy, he jumps in front and he's moving laterally.
Williams is moving to the left. Yeah, his torso isn't in like a set defense. He's not in a like, your body's not in defensive position. Your feet don't have to be set to take a charge. But your torso has to be not moving into where the defender's going. I mean, the offensive player is going. And yeah, he hadn't established a defensive position. He's trailing RJ Barrett. He just slides in there, and in the motion of him sliding in there is the same motion of him falling down. I mean, and Barrett actually tries to go the other way to avoid him. And again, the referee's in that same spot on the Carolina
huge
8.
Swing on this, because RJ actually makes the shot. It should have been an and one.
Yeah.
This should have been an and one. Duke up 39-35 at this point. Blown call number 2. All right, next play. All right, I think this one's going to be in the second half now. 8 minutes here. Trey's going to pass this up to RJ, and then what? The other guy calls it. What is this? Kenny Williams goes down like a house of cards. I'm going to blow that one too. And then the fourth one. Okay, and here's the fourth one. And that one's a block.
Oh.
So here's the key, right? This is critical. We've done this side-by-side comparison for all of you. The charge is on the left. The block is on the right.
Yeah. At this precinct right now, look at Kenny Williams' upper body. I mean, it's at a curve, at an angle, and that's because his hips and stuff are still moving into where RJ's going.
He's
RJ
late.
has a half a step around him. Yeah. And it's almost it's like mirror images.
Yes, it really is. Look, this is the same exact play. I put the frames in the exact spot so that it would be easy for everyone to realize. Look at this. And we even slowed it down. This is the exact same play. One goes left, one goes right. The one on the right is called a block. The one on the left is called a charge. The only difference is that by the time we get to the one on the right, RJ has 4 fouls. And so that would have been his 5th, and the ref isn't going to foul him out on an offensive one.
Yeah, because you get in trouble for that.
What? What? Oh. But wait, there's more. Here we go.
There's more.
There's more. My
Always
God,
more.
the refs were giving out, like, what'd you say? The refs were giving out charges like Roy Williams gives out free test drives for Infinities. It's crazy. Yep. All right, so here's the final one. And this is this is the principle of verticality. Eric, Mr. Ref, explain, please.
Yeah, verticality, basically imagine that every player on the court has a strictly defined cylinder that they're standing in. It's almost like you're standing in your own little phone booth, right? And basically the general rule of contact is like you can't occupy another player's cylinder. A player has a right to that cylinder. He can stand there, he can jump, and when it's basically the classic have your hands up straight. And where a lot of players may jump up straight, a lot of times players will tilt their arms down in this motion, which is impeding into the driving player's cylinder. But if you go straight up, jump straight up, you're allowed to do that. They actually amended some of the rules so that players, like what Jack White does here, even in that restricted zone, you can still jump like he does in that zone.
Yep.
That restricted zone is actually intended for, they don't want players standing there to be underneath and undercutting incoming players trying to dunk or get a layup, because that's dangerous. But they actually wanted people, this like came out when they kind of altered this rule a little bit a while back. They wanted players to go up and like jump vertical to contend shots at the rim, because it's more exciting like that. But to do it not flying from behind or like flagrantly from the side or something like that, but to go up and kind of have these 2 vertical players meeting for attempts at the goal.
I can't believe it. This is a perfect block. This is a
in
perfect
addition to
block.
this, I mean, this view says it all. In addition to this, like generally, also like the rule of thumb is like if you swat the ball first, like that's the overarching thing. There's plenty of blocks where there's not a foul called, where a guy swats the ball and then like because the players are coming together, collide. Their like hips collide. But because you swatted the ball early and first, it's no longer like a shot attempt. But which I mean the rim cap, like you could not. I mean I think Jack gets 4 fingers on the middle of the ball before even touching the other guy.
And you know what? And here's the kicker. This ref calls it a block.
Yes.
And this one calls it a foul. But you know what? The one on the bottom can't see the play. Look at it again. This is the crazy part. The play is done this in such a way, right there. This ref can see the play. This ref, all he sees is Jack White blocking the ball and assumes that he's gonna and then the ball doesn't go in and he calls the foul. He cannot make that call, or he could, but he shouldn't, because the ref on the baseline is the one that needs to make this call, and that's the one that calls the block. But the other one overrules him from the wrong side because he can't see that Jack is in fact vertical in this play. God damn it! What the hell?
You can see him. He's just like like he makes the symbol, and like he's casual about it too. It's like he's like, yeah, that's a block. And then the other guy just comes sprinting in, and like, I it's sometimes like you get these like like the brotherhood of referees, and like they're less likely to overturn each other, especially if there's a delay in this. But I mean, I think sometimes guys get caught up in the game, it's and unfortunately it screws people out of points. And the more that each one of them gets their turn, it's like, hey.
Brutal.
This is the Duke post game report. We're biased.
We're biased, but we got the footage anyway. All right. So Justin, you there, buddy?
Yep, I'm here.
All right. Unfortunately, what do we have? Even Billis said it was an awesome block. Yes,
he did.
Yes, he in did. Chat. Thank you for the viewers in chat. Yes, even Billis said it was an awesome block. Exactly. All right, so Justin, unfortunately, I feel like every time you show up, it's like watching Anderson Cooper show up to your town with his black vest. Something either terrible has happened or is about to happen to your hometown. And in this case, something terrible has happened with Duke again in the first 3 minutes of the game. Marquise goes down. What can you tell us about the injury and the timetable for return?
So, yeah, not a pretty fall. As you saw, he was visibly in a lot of pain and struggled to get up after that one. And from an on-field acute medical standpoint, those are some of the injuries that scare us the most, because we couldn't tell what was happening when his foot hit that stanchion and what happened to his knee. All you just saw was he went down and he wasn't getting up. But when they took him back, diagnosed with an MCL sprain, so similar to the Zion injury. However, the grade of that injury was and is still unknown, but they've already ruled him out for the ACC, which was 100% expected. I wouldn't expect him back prior to the first weekend. Maybe the second weekend probably is more realistic. Yeah, that's probably more realistic. Again, every player is going to respond to these types of injuries differently. Biology is going to occur at a different rate in terms of tissue healing. But again, we don't know the severity of the injury currently, based on what's been.
Got it. And then, so real quick, you mentioned last time, so props to you again, because you said, I don't expect Zion to play for this UNC game. He did not. You wanted to give him the extra 10 days of rest, essentially between Wake Forest and the ACC tournament, to be able to play, which is exactly what they did. So it was the right call again. And you mentioned there were 4 phases that the Duke program goes through. Can you just real quick for the viewers, what's each phase and what do they entail?
So each school kind of has a little bit of a different protocol. And so I don't know exactly what their protocol entails with each step, but generally phase 1 or one of the is all about pain, swelling management, and ensuring that the athlete normal function, normal walking, adequate knee range of motion. And then you progress from there into phase 2, where you start a little bit more making sure that they can squat, deadlift, do single leg tasks, lunge, you name it. And then move into /4, which is when you start doing more sport specific movements. We start adding side to side, then you start adding rotational movements and pivoting over that leg, different hopping tasks. And so for him, probably phase 4 looks like it's true sport specific. They probably have been doing one-on-one drills with him on the court versus the medical staff or versus the assistant coaches initiating contact to get him back into it a little bit more in a very controlled. And now I believe I saw it reported on ESPN, he was about to participate in his first 5-on-5 live game either today or tomorrow. And so that would be more of the unpredictable contact. And so as long as he does in that and there's no setbacks, he more than would be back on Thursday against whoever.
Right. All right, and we are going to transition straight into the looking forward for Thursday.
Actually, Eric, I did have one follow-up question for Justin, because I was kind of curious about this. I know last time we talked about like when Trey Jones kind of got injured, and like we talked about like what happens kind of when he gets taken off behind the scenes. How does that differ when it's at like an opponent's arena? Like, is there different stuff that they're able to use and stuff like that?
So they obviously each arena is going to be set up a little bit differently, but they should be able to that athlete back into their own locker room. So Duke would be going into the visitors' locker room at that point. Teams would have brought all of their equipment that is necessary. But there's just at the highest levels, although I have not been, at that high of a level, but I imagine there's some mutual respect and mutual help amongst the medical staff, so that if a player is injured enough, the other team's going to help and provide that. When I cover our rugby guys at OSU, whenever another team's guy goes down, we offer whatever resources that we physically can at that time to help them out as well, even if they have medical coverage on.
Got it.
Okay. Thanks, Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we saw the mutual respect. Even though it was at Carolina, the fans applauded, and there was a fist bump there by one of the UNC players. So the rivalry is intense, but it is against UNC. We do respect the rivalry in any case. So great to see that from the players.
Absolutely. Hopefully, I won't have to be on the rest of the year
as we make the run into the postseason. All right, Justin, thanks so much, man.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. All right. And here we go. The ACC Tournament quarterfinal starting on Thursday. Duke gets the double bye thanks to the record ending in the top 4. We have the 3rd seed. We are in North Carolina's bracket. So it'll be North Carolina at the 2, Duke at the 3, and we play any one of these 3 teams, Syracuse, BC, or Pitt. Eric, your pick for the game on Thursday night. Who will we go up against?
I mean, it's probably going to be Syracuse. I mean, I actually can't say that I've actually seen Pitt play really this year. They're just kind of the bottom of the ACC right now. There seems to be kind of a very much a top tier as far as competitiveness and even across college basketball. I mean, even Coach K commented there's multiple teams that have more than 25 wins. He said it's crazy.
The ACC is loaded. I mean, I would be surprised if the champion isn't an ACC team.
Yeah, I mean, and then there's just a lower tier that's just having, they've had a couple off years and are kind of just seem struggling this year. The Syracuse has been playing very well as of late. So, I mean, I would reasonably expect to see them. And the good thing about that, I think is that, versus having to play potentially Virginia Tech right off the bat again or something like that, we only played them one time. Or even Louisville, who we had a close game with. But Syracuse we've played twice, so we kind of know what we're getting. Kind of know what to expect. And we beat them before. Especially because we had Trey Jones back, and hopefully we have Zion back. So we'll kind of be playing at full strength. So I think it's good to kind of know what we're getting into in this game. And again, I'm confident that we can beat them. If we played even similar to what we played the last time we matched up against them. Kind of if we have to, keep Tyus Battle at bay, and just kind of cut down and just keep penetrating the zone, and hopefully we shoot pretty well from 3-point line, because that can definitely just break it down and open it wide open for us.
The first game we had Zion but no Trey and no Cam, right? Lost that one in overtime. Second game, we had Trey and Cam, but no Zion. So we've never actually played Syracuse with the full squad. In theory, you could have, but the only time it was sort of at full strength minus Cam was those first 3 or 4 minutes of the first game, and we just exploded 12-0 against Syracuse right off the bat. Zion being the zone buster, put him in the middle, and then go to town.
And I know some of even Coach K said that some of our issues this year is kind of we play well. Obviously we play great when Zion's there, and that's not just because it's Zion himself is playing great, but also because it creates and makes our whole team play better around that, because it just opens up so many more things. But I mean, I think if we play 90% of what we just played against UNC, we have no problem with Syracuse.
Yeah, exactly. It was definitely encouraging to see the level of effort against UNC compared to level of effort. Well, they played hard against Wake, but it was just it felt different, right?
Different. Yeah, it was different.
So, all right, 0-0. Records are clean going into Thursday here. At some point, here's the K Barkov. When is Zion K Barkov 4 in chat? When is Zion going to be back? We think it is going to be on Thursday, according to Coach. He says if everything goes good with his practices, it looks like Zion will be back on Thursday for this game, which would be really nice. So and here's the thing. So if we go on and play UNC on Friday and we win, we will come back and do a Slaughter of the Rams stream on Saturday before the eventual ACC championship game, which is at 8:30 at night. What's that?
Oh, is that good? Go ahead. I'll chime in a second.
Okay. And if it's anyone other than Carolina, like if Louisville upsets them or something, we will just do the stream. We will do the full recap of the ACC tournament next Monday, and that stream will be a combination ACC tournament plus NCAA looking forward. And we will also announce our bracket challenge for that one.
Yeah, I do want to make a comment that's unique about the AC tournament this year is that it's falling on what most cities will be celebrating St. Patrick's Day this year on that Saturday. So it should be an interesting stream, if we beat UNC. So being from Charlotte myself, them hosting the ACC tournament is going to be interesting because Charlotte is home to, I mean, I don't know if it's the world. I think they said the world technically. The world's largest pub crawl, and it's only because it's the organized pub crawl, and you have upwards of 20,000 people wearing the same T-shirt, just hopping and crawling across the city, which will then be interesting when you add the ACC traffic for the final game. But I expect there to be a lot of Carolina fans at this, regardless. They always seem to show up and buy a
Carolina
lot of
and Duke
seats.
fans. And
Yeah.
All right, so the
But
final two questions.
Carolina fans, they're a little annoying though, because they'll buy tickets to games that like UNC's not even playing in just to like be there and like boo people. And they just and then they also like they stick around for like their entire session. So like if UNC plays on Thursday, like if they're in the same ticketed session, like
Yep,
they will
they
be
are.
there.
They are.
They will be in their seat just to like boo the shit out of Duke like the whole game. Sorry.
Yeah, they are. They actually play first. So the last final questions in
Oh yeah.
chat. Does RJ have most points in the freshman year? Yes, RJ has scored 724 points this season, which is a record for the ACC for a freshman.
Yeah.
Previously
He's
at
also
721, which is
yeah.
awesome.
He's
Jay,
also the second on as far as Duke, the second most person to get to 700 points. He got to
JJ
700 points in
being the
30
other one.
games. Yeah,
Yep.
JD did his senior year and he did it in 25. So that's RJ as a freshman doing
Yep.
it in 30 games.
The kid can score. Which is larger, the Ritz size hole or the Zion size hole? That is the Zion size hole for sure. And do we work for Duke or are just big Duke fans? We do not work for Duke. We were students, both undergrad and graduate school, and we ran the graduate student basketball committee, which is not a paid position or official position within athletics. It is all student run. And we ran both the graduate student campout and game day operations for the 2016-2017 season. And the poll, before we go, the poll says that actually even votes between 7 and 10, the margin of victory 10 to 15, and I went ahead and said 15 plus. It's going to be a blowout. Oh yes, and Justin was. I didn't know Justin was still here. Yes, Justin. He was also part of the graduate student basketball committee. He was the co-chair and part of Duke Physical Therapy as well, class of 2017. So that's why he drops all the knowledge for us on injuries, sports rehab, and all the good stuff. And he is officially a doctor, so doctor of physical therapy.
He used to make sure that he used to check out our elbows to make sure they were good when we were still saying "Go Duke,"
Yeah, exactly. But all right, ladies and gentlemen, one final shout outs to the players. Zion, ACC Rookie of the Year and Player of the Year. RJ and Zion, first team All-ACC honors. Trey, second team ACC Defensive Player of the Year, just behind UNC. At least it wasn't Kenny Williams, even though the refs made him look like a goddamn hero. In any case, like I said, if we beat Carolina on Friday night, we'll be back Saturday. If not, we'll see you guys on next Monday. Go Duke and go to hell, Carolina.
Go Duke.